Extremist movie debate. Extremist movie debate. Extremist movie debate. Extremist movie debate.
It's the Extremist movie debate. And tonight, 2017's Power Rangers.
I'm unpaid intern Jeff.
I'm Ethan, and one of us is going to love it, one of us is going to hate it.
Hey guys, don't create a giant robot to fight us. There's spoilers ahead.
I love it.
I hate it.
All right, and this movie has a 47%, so it's certified rotten. So it goes to Ethan, correct?
Yes.
Yep. All right. So this first question. Bill Goodykoontz of the Arizona Republic says...
You did that on purpose.
I did. At its best, Power Rangers plays a little like a low-rent breakfast club. Unfortunately, it's not always at its best. And when it's not, you get exactly what you would expect. Generic teen hero fare. So my question, is Power Rangers a lesson in adjusting your film-going expectations to maximize your viewing experience? Or should all movies be judged equally regardless of their content? You have 1 minute.
It depends on... Yeah, I mean, it's just the same way as saying all books should be judged the same. I mean, you look at something like 50 Shades of Grey is wildly successful, but nobody of their right mind is going to call it good literature. Just like this movie can be greatly successful, and it can be a whole lot of fun to watch, and it is a whole lot of fun to watch, but nobody's going to say, that's a great film that should be studied, get it on AFI's list of the best 100. No one is going to say that ever about Power Rangers. This movie based off of a cartoon which existed to sell toys. The movie doesn't take itself seriously. You can say that it's better than Transformers, which is essentially the exact same movie, except Transformers took itself seriously, and that's why it's no more fun. This movie is at least fun. It knows what it is. Everybody's having a good time doing it. That comes across the screen well. You can't help but smile while watching it.
Thank you.
I'm going to completely disagree.
Jeff, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I'm sorry. And Bill Goodykoontz here it completely nailed it when he said that this... Crash Bandicoot nailed it. When he said this movie is the Breakfast Club, that's all it is, but it's thrown into the Power Rangers universe, and it's not fun to watch. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's contrived. Everyone has some crybaby backstory. Oh, I'm a nerd who gets bullied. I'm a lesbian. Woe is me. Like, why does that fucking matter? We don't need this. It's took the entire plot of the Breakfast Club.
Thank you, Ethan. You have 15 seconds.
Yeah, it definitely took part of the Breakfast Club. But why the Breakfast Club? Why in the world is that such a bad thing? Why is it a bad thing to have a movie that has the lowest bar to begin with and then actually try to elevate it a little bit? This is something that children are going to be watching. Isn't it important to understand that kids can be abused, kids can
Thank
be
you, Ethan.
different
I'm going to cut you off there.
No one in this movie was abused, Ethan. No one in this movie was
emotionally abused.
Excuse me. Unpaid intern Jeff, you have a final 15?
I'm sorry. It's bad because there's nothing original about the movie. It took something that was already made, a show that was already taking something that was made in Japan in the 70s, trying to pass it off as its own American thing, and so it's taking that and now adding the Breakfast Club to it. It's nothing original.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. And we're going to volley it over to you. Emily Yoshida of the New York Magazine says... As cash grabs go, this one is delightfully unconcerned with coolness, neither shying away from its chintzy roots nor ironically embracing them. She's basically saying the filmmaker's sincerity makes the Power Rangers endearing. Do you think leaning into the campy, potentially flawed moments is what reboots need, or should the filmmakers always attempt to elevate the property a la Nolan's Batman trilogy? You have 1 minute.
I mean, you can lean on the campiness of the original thing you're taking it from, but this movie didn't do that at all. This movie does try to be cool. This movie does try to be hip. This movie does try to hit it off with the youngsters with Billy going, "Come at me, bro," and just every like hyper stylized karate scene, them fighting the stupid putties and oh, we're gonna jump around. It was like if you took that scene from The Amazing Spider-Man where he's skateboarding around when he learns that he has spider powers. That movie is just that scene, but for an hour and a half in a 2-hour movie.
Thank you, Jeff. We're going to take it over to Ethan for 30 seconds.
Look, you're not necessarily wrong in that. I just found that to be very enjoyable. I think that this movie does essentially what the Lego movie does, is you take something incredibly stupid and you add a little bit of spice into it to elevate that material above the, again, the lowest bar possible going in. And by adding that, by adding a little bit of a backstory to these characters, something that the kids can empathize with, all of a sudden, you know, the Lego movie is about like this kid that isn't played with by his father at all, and all of a sudden this movie is about, oh, these kids actually have social issues that they can actually actually relate to the audience somewhat, that makes this movie a little bit more watchable and more fun.
Thank you, Ethan. I'm going to have to cut you off there. Jeff, unpaid intern Jeff, you have 15 seconds.
Once again, it's issues that were stolen from the Breakfast Club. You have the jock, the misfit, the nerd, the weirdo. It's like they wanted to, take the most cliche person you can get and throw it into this movie.
Thank you, Jeff. Ethan, you have a final 15.
Why is it such a bad thing to take something that has already existed before, to take something that has existed before and put it into a different context? Why is that such a negative for you?
And we're going to go ahead and open the floor for 4 minutes for a classical back and forth.
Okay, I'll tell you why. I hate that you're looking at me. I'll tell you why it's a bad thing. It's because in the 70s, there's already this Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, and then in the 90s, they took the stock footage from that and was like, we're gonna pass it off as our own thing. Everyone's too fucking stupid. Then they made a shitty movie out of that, and now this movie is a shittier movie that came from a shitty movie, from a shitty series.
You can't just say it's a shitty movie because it's a shitty movie.
It's shitty because there's nothing good or original about it. It's like if Michael Bay directed the Transformers movie, or the Power Rangers movies. I'm sorry, the Power Rangers movies.
This movie inherently has similarities to the Transformers, all right?
It's contrived characters, shitty fight choreography.
Of course it is. What
bad CGI
did you possibly
graphics.
expect this movie to be? Like, you could make an argument like, should this movie exist or not?
They could
but
have.
you have no say in that. So
they could have went the Nolan path and made it dark and gritty.
Why would you possibly do that? How would this look in your world? What would the better movie be? You want a movie that does not do any callbacks at all to the original fan service, that does not actually bring people in that might have watched the cartoon over the last 2 decades.
I would have totally done that because you're
would
at
have
least
just had
creating
adults
something original.
that would have thought Power Rangers. That sounds really fucking stupid, and go in and watch it because they'll never go in and watch it and think you know what, we should do this harder. We should do the James Van Der Beek
It's not
versions
bad
of
to
Power
have
Rangers.
fan service and like subtle nods, but when you're playing the original Mighty Morphin Power
Hilarious. I loved it.
That wasn't hilarious at all.
It was great because the movie
it
has
was
set it up.
completely out of left field. They try to make it
The
like
movie has set it up so well to itself. We're just waiting for this moment when they get into their Zords. We're just waiting for the moment where they morph.
Like they might have
the whole movie. It's like an hour and a half of just anticipation, waiting for that moment where it starts to resemble the cartoon.
When Jason jumped onto the morphing pod and had to yell out and kind of wink at the camera, "It's morphin' time!" It's just like, all right, remember that thing?
That's exactly what it was.
But
that is exactly what it was, and it was great. I was so glad he winked in my heart.
Who's the audience for this movie?
The audience for this movie is people that grew up with the cartoon that are now 20 years older, or the people who have watched it in high school, who have watched it over the last couple of years. Not in high school. Sorry, nobody watched this in high school.
Are you sure?
Apparently, Joe watched it in high school. He's waving
you just
his hand.
said because everybody watched it in high school.
That this show has been around for like 20 years in this country.
And this movie is so try hard in the point to bring like diversity and like
this movie,
in these problems, like these kids all have like.
Here's what the movie does: it succeeds at
guess what?
It succeeds at fan service for all the people who watched it when they were 6, and it succeeds at a newer audience coming into this movie who has maybe adopted some of the other stuff. This is an audience like I went to a 3-year-old's birthday party, and the 3-year-old was into the Avengers and Star Wars. So little kids are watching more gritty stuff. So this is a PG-13. It's a soft PG-13. It's not that violent. It's not that awful.
Are you sure it's not that violent?
People get murdered.
A lot of people got murdered.
Yeah, a lot of people get murdered in the Avengers movies, too. Entire cities of people get murdered.
Yeah, and an entire city of people got murdered in this when Goldar is walking down the city block, stomping on people, punching people in the face. People definitely let their kids watch harder and harder things now. So having this movie is essentially made for all the people who are 20 years older and then all the people who are kids. Because
so it's important to have themes.
Watch harder things. They should be okay.
Don't watch The Breakfast Club. Kids don't watch The Breakfast Club because it's a hard R.
I watched The Breakfast Club when I was
fine. Great. I'm sorry. How'd that turn out for you?
It's a hard R because they say the F word. They say fuck. There's nothing hard about that movie.
Kids don't watch The Breakfast Club outside of required high school viewing. How about I say it that way?
Or elementary school like this guy.
Good job.
Because I'm better than you.
Kids don't have that as accessible. This movie is very accessible to kids, so it's important to have those themes that are important to The Breakfast Club that make The Breakfast Club great into this movie that is accessible to a wider audience.
That's fine. Okay, so then we can talk about, the wider audience, and it's trying to, take these stereotypes of modern America. Oh, we have a person from the LGBTQ community. We have
That's a good thing.
We have that is a good thing, but they have the the people of color, like the jock male, the cheerleader. So they're taking it and being like,
why? I'm going to have to cut you off there, Jeff. Sorry. Before we get into how we actually feel, I want to go on the record saying the original Mighty Morphin's Power Ranger movie from the 90s is top notch. I love how they started out with airboarding.
A skydiving scene where he has a snowboard.
And how did you fellas feel about the movie?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
fun.
It's fan service to the kids from the 90s. That's
or to me, who was not
Yeah.
like I was aware of the show, but I hated the show as a kid, so I never.
Yeah,
watched
I was like
ever.
5 when the show came out, so it was like right up my alley. I mean, to finish the statement that I was making. I do think it's good that they are showing like all these diverse characters like having issues and bring attention to it. But then the movie's like, oh, look at all of us together, all of us people like together at once. It's like it was kind of like jerking itself off for having a diverse cast, and that kind of I was like, you didn't need to do that. We understand what's happening
Well,
here.
but even the original had a diverse cast.
No, it
though.
didn't. The original was
Didn't it?
No, the original cast was 4 white kids and 1 black kid.
Oh, I
or
thought,
no,
I thought there was an Asian girl.
Oh, it was. Well, she
There
died,
was-
and that's why they got a different girl.
It was an Asian girl. Okay,
Yeah,
all
and
right.
then she died in a car accident,
Right.
and
Heard
they
about
brought
that.
in
Okay.
a woman of color, and the original Black Ranger who left, who ironically was black, he left over contract disputes, and they got another white guy.
Oh, okay.
So it was 4 white people and a black girl.
Okay, well, it started out with good intentions. It sounds like
Kinda.
just like this movie.
Yeah.
No, it's fun. It's
Yeah,
really
it's-
stupid. It's
It is, but it's everything. It's everything I expected this movie to be.
it's better than I expected it to be. I went into this pretty angry that I had to watch this.
I was
Sorry,
real
Joe.
excited.
And I was smiling through the whole thing, even though I don't give any shits at all about this franchise whatsoever. Like, you actually like Saban?
Sabanian.
I don't. Or follow it.
And how would you guys rate the movie?
7 out of 10. A little bit of thunder.
7 out of 10. I'll give it
Do you
a...
expect me to give it better?
No.
It's average.
I'll give it 5.5 out of 10.
We don't give halves.
It's a good time. It's just not good. Yeah.
Roy from
And-
The Office is in it. That was cool.
Who?
Roy from The Office.
Oh yeah, he is.
Pam's
He's
fiance.
the dad who emotionally abuses his son,
Well, his son threw away his football career.
and that's one way to look at it.
It's the only way to look at it.
All right, so go ahead and comment below, like and subscribe to the video if you want. If you'd like us to do a movie in the future, this is good. If you'd like us to do a movie in the future, go ahead and request it in the comments below, and you can also write down a question you'd like us to debate about that movie, and, well, Unpaid Intern Jeff will probably read it on the episode. Unless Joe doesn't watch the movie, then it'll be Joe.
Yeah, I'm going back behind the desk.
Well, thank you and good night.
Thanks.